comes from Matthew chapter 11, verses 25 through 30. The scripture says, "At that time Jesus said, 'I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you've hidden these things from the wise and the intelligent and have shown them to babies. Indeed, Father, this brings you happiness. My Father has handed all things over to me. No one knows the Son except the Father, and nobody knows the Father except the Son and anyone to whom the Son wants to reveal. Come to me, all you who are struggling hard and carrying heavy loads, and I will give you rest. Put on my yoke and learn from me. I am gentle and humble, and you will find rest for yourself. My yoke is easy to bear, and my burden is light.'" The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Our scripture today. So when we were first married, my husband and I started saying something to each other. When this season is over, life will calm down. We just have to get through this month. We just have to get through this week. It's going to calm down. We've been married almost 19 years now, and these days we start to say it and laugh. It's not going to calm down. Life is relentless. If it's not one thing, it's another. And to be honest, we can become really, really tired. We need rest. Our exhausted souls crave rest, don't they? The words of our scripture, "Come to me, all you that are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Jesus was speaking to a group of people that had been trying to carry an impossible load. He was speaking to people who were living a difficult life. They were impoverished, they were under Roman rule, they were under a pretty stringent look at the law, and life was hard. There were those there who wanted Jesus to remove their every problem. They wanted Jesus to lift them up and out of the realm of life's difficulties and sorrows and disappointments. But this wasn't the kind of rest that Jesus offered them. This didn't look the way they thought it should. Jesus didn't turn to them and say that he'll make everyone's life burden-free. Everything's going to go easy for you. No. He tells them that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. He speaks of putting on his yoke, but yokes are for bearing burdens. What if Jesus promises them rest? Then why does he tell them to put on a yoke? I spent more time than you would believe looking up YouTube videos of what a yoke is like, and how they fit, and how they're worn, and what they do. I wasn't a farm kid. I didn't see it happen. So yokes are kind of a one bar that goes over 2 oxen. If you know this already, I'm sorry, but it goes over 2 oxen, and they have like U-shaped collars that are under the oxen, which, by the way, being yoked to God is where they come up with a collar for a clergy person. So, they have this collar, this yoke for these oxen, and they put these 2 oxen together, and they can carry more than just one. The lead oxen pulls, the other one helps, and together they can carry more than one can carry. So Jesus offers these disciples his yoke. Is Jesus offering rest, or is he offering work? He wasn't trying to give them another load to carry. He was inviting them to get in his yoke. So to have his yoke, they are able to pull more than one can pull on their own. Because the more experienced one pulls harder and leads in the right direction, they can carry more. And Jesus promised that if you yoke to him, this cooperative effort will result in being refreshed as a tired follower. Jesus was not suggesting that a relationship with him was without burden, without work, without things to do. Not at all. Jesus was saying that he provides the strength necessary to get the work done, to carry the burden. The yoke that Jesus offers is a shared burden, and it's light because Jesus is the one that carries it with you. When Jesus said his yoke is easy, it doesn't mean that it's no big deal. It means it's comfortable. Like an easy chair is comfortable. It's comfortable and doesn't needlessly burden. It's easy because you're yoked to Jesus and Jesus is pulling the weight. And a yoke only becomes heavy when we pull against Jesus and try to carry it all on ourselves. Jesus, in carrying with a person, makes them refreshed. I need to be refreshed. Don't you? I need to be refreshed. We all have a deep soul weariness, though it's in different ways and for different reasons for different people. Sometimes we can point to specific situations, sometimes we can't. But our weariness results from just the cumulative stuff of life. We all bear burdens and we become tired. And our burdens show themselves in different ways. This week I saw that people were talking about emotional exhaustion. Some of the clergy people were talking about emotional exhaustion, where you're just emotionally tired. And with that, you can become overwhelmed and anxious and hopeless and focus on the negative. This is something that people fight with and they'll get burned out. It's one of the ways people show themselves as being overburdened. Now in my family, you show yourself being overburdened in a little different way. I will confess that I am a worrier in a long line of worriers. Sometimes worrying is disguised by overplanning, and, well, let's be honest, I'm going to have to out you, Elise. I was sitting next to Elise this week who was listing plan A, B, C, D, if this happens, if that happens, and I turned and I said, you'll need to hear my sermon this week. Oh, darling, we might need the anointing oil to break you from being a worrier in a long line of worriers. Welcome to the family. Here we are. Sometimes planning looks like carrying a burden from being a worrier. Sometimes we believe that sheer worrying can keep bad things at bay or prepare us for a travesty, but it doesn't. And many of us live under the daily weight of our illusions of control, trying to play savior to ourselves or others. I met with a bunch of clergy this week online, and that was one of the conversations. They said, we know how to be a pastor. We know how to do church before COVID. This is the plan. This is how we visit people. This is where we go. This is the order of service. And suddenly it was, your doors are shutting. How do you connect with people who you can't go visit, who may not have internet, who, are also lonely and isolated? And now the doors are opening. What do you do? How do you make it safe enough? Can we sing? These are all things that the pastors were being thrown by. And I ventured to say, I think we had lulled ourselves into believing that we were in control and in charge of something. And now the truth has come out. We are not in control. We respond to what God gives us and roll with it. That didn't go over real well with a bunch of clergy people, because if you would like to see a group of controllers, it's a group of pastors. But the truth is, we are not in control. And heaping weight on ourselves like that burden, it can breed anxiety and stress and sleepless nights. Jesus is the lead oxen. Jesus is the one with the yoke that pulls. When Jesus said, come to me, he meant, believe that I am who I claim to be, and I am able to do for you what I say. Here's where our burdened souls are tested. Will we believe in him? Will we trust in him? Will we rest our souls in Jesus when our burdensome problems vex us, will we wait for the Lord's timing? To all who are weary to the bone and weighted down, Jesus says, "Come to me." The invitation calls us to turn to Jesus rather than to wrestle with things ourselves to make our life good. The invitation also tells us that Jesus is ready to welcome us. There is a promise. The promise is, "Come to me and I will give you rest." What does that mean, that you will receive rest? It means that we do not see that we have to work alone. See, we will still have work, but we will not do it alone. The presence of Jesus gives us peace. With that, we know we're not doing it alone. This abstract understanding of peace, but also there's a point where God sends people to help you. I will confess that this was a tough week for me, and there were times where I'm thinking, I'm going to preach on this. I have to preach on this. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. How does that work? So I was here 2 days I was trying to get here 2 days in the church, and the phones were out, and the internet was out, and I needed the internet because the internet is what prints your bulletins, it connects to the printer. And I needed it for the Zoom meeting I had to do with the pastors. And I'm like, okay, the internet at the house in Melanson has been out for a week. The internet at the church has been out for 2 days. I'm getting in my car and going west until I find internet in Charlevoix at my husband's church, which is where these bulletins were printed. And I walked into his church, sweating, frustrated, looking for internet to work, muttering to myself from your pastoral parking spot, "His yoke is easy, his burden is light. His yoke is easy, his burden is light. His yoke is easy, why won't the world listen to me? And his burden is light." So if your parishioners saw me, I'm sure they thought I was losing it. But I believed that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And I believed that God would provide. In that day, what God provided was another church to do the work in. I wasn't pulling alone. You don't see handwritten orders of service, though I would have done it if I needed to. That week, I needed help from places besides the abstract peace. Now, you have heard me discuss my fears before, and one of them encountered me this week. My little Katie turned 12 on Wednesday, and she looked up at me on Tuesday, knowing that her birthday was going to be a little different. She said, "You know what I really want at my birthday? I really want Dross wild strawberry ice cream from Indian River. That's what I want on my birthday, Mom. Will you get me some ice cream?" So I went over and I got a quart of the ice cream and brought it back home to the house, and she came running out and she was going to get the ice cream, and she stopped as I'm getting out of the car, and she turned and looked, and she was doing something, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, I just found a big snake on the porch." I went back in the car, and I locked the doors and rolled up the windows. And I texted David and Elise, and I said, "Ice cream in the car, snake on the porch, we're coming." They came not to rescue me, but to rescue the ice cream. And they took it in and made it safe. And Katie says, I pulled down the window and I said, "Katie, what's going on with the snake?" It's peeking. I almost am like, "Don't give me the play-by-play." And she goes, "Got it." And she grabbed it by the back of the head and took its 2-foot tail and wrapped it around her arms and started walking by my car. "Mom, how far do I have to walk for you to let me let this live?" I said, "A half mile that way." She did. So, in that moment, the yoke that was being pulled with me came in the form of an 11-year-old girl who made sure that I didn't lose my mind with just one more thing. Sometimes the Lord saves us by giving us peace. Sometimes He saves us by giving us help. We need to be able to receive that help. When when we are pulling, the Lord releases us with a lighter burden by not pulling alone. Whatever burden we bear, we do not bear it alone. Not spiritually in our heart, but not actively in our lives, and that is the good news. We can lay down our heavy solo load, and we can take up the yoke that Jesus offers. No, our burdens aren't removed, but with Jesus as a yoke mate and Him pulling with you, then it becomes lighter. Then it becomes easier. The yoke that Jesus offers enables us to bear the burdens. Because, let's be honest, the weight of life can only be borne by Jesus. Let Jesus carry the burden. Are you weary? Are you carrying a heavy burden, and do you need rest? So many of us right now. Jesus is inviting those who answered yes to take on His yoke and let Him pull with you. Let Him be the lead oxen carrying the weight and directing. Jesus, our help in this life and our place of rest always, is ready to offer you His yoke. His burden is easy, and His yoke is easy, and His burden is light. Amen.